Good morning. Everybody come to a comfortable seated position. Just one leg in front of the other, easy comfy seat. You can have a pillow or a blanket, a bolster, a block under you. That helps you get a little bit, keep your pelvis and your low back in line. So we're gonna start out with closing the eyes and just getting grounded, bringing our attention from the external world to our internal world. So just start to notice your breath, maybe notice your heartbeat, not making any judgment about it, not staying attached to it, just noticing. Again, letting go of the external world and drawing your senses inward. Letting your breath deepen, breathing into the belly. Also breathing into the back of the body and into the side of the body. Now I'd like for you to set an intention for class. It should be a very simply worded statement in the positive. Something like, I am safe, I am healthy, abundance surrounds me. Let it come naturally. And once you have your statement, say it 3 times. Great. Now go ahead and open your eyes and begin Ujjayi breath. If you don't know Ujjayi breath, I will explain it to you now. Ujjayi breath is a way to control prana, or our life force, our energy, our chi, whatever you want to call it. And we do this so make the sound, go with your mouth open, forcing the air out of you. Okay, now go like you're going, like you're super scared. Okay, now do both of those with your mouth closed, doing this through your nose. So, you're engaging a bandha or energy lock in your throat. And what this does is imagine a water hose. And if you're holding the water hose and you have your thumb on it, what happens? You create a very forceful flow of water, very powerful flow of water. If you release your thumb a little bit, it's a more gentle flow. Now that's what we're doing with the prana, with the energy that we're taking in and out of our body. We control how powerful or how gentle it is. And this comes in useful when we're either wanting to relax the body or energize the body and be more powerful. So go ahead and continue with the Ujjayi breath. Growing up through the crown of the head, sitting down through the sit bones, dropping the shoulders away from the ears. Letting the forehead, jaw be relaxed as well. Try to maintain that throughout class. Sometimes I find myself going like this in a pose, and we want to be at ease in our poses. They should be challenging, but we should meet that challenge with ease. Okay, release Ujjayi breath. Come into hero pose. Hero pose is knees together, feet slightly apart, and you want to sit your sitting bones down on the ground. If your sitting bones do not reach the ground comfortably, if it's too much of a strain on your ankles, your knees, or your hips, have a cushion underneath you. Ground through the shins and the top of your feet, and we'll do Kapalabhati breath. If you know Kapalabhati, go ahead and begin now. If you do not, let me explain. So Kapalabhati is a snapping of the diaphragm, okay? The diaphragm is the muscle that controls most of our breathing. So you snap it back. So you go, so inhale, and snap, snap, snap. Until you forced all the air out of your lungs, at which point you take an inhale and begin again. So go ahead and do that now. And if you're already doing Kapalabhati, continue. Just keep taking round after round. And what this is, Kapalabhati means skull shining or skull polishing. And you can think of it in terms of like, we're bringing all this oxygen into our body, all this oxygen into our brain. We're waking ourselves up. This is a great breath exercise to start your day with. It really energizes you, brings energy and life force into you. So go ahead and continue. We have 60 more seconds. And remember, the legs should be active. Shins pressing into the ground, pelvic floor rising, shoulders dropping, face relaxed. And last round. Good. Come on to hands and knees or tabletop position. So wrists directly under the shoulders, knees directly under the hips, grounding through the webbing between your first finger and your thumb. And it's important, this seems like such a simple pose, but this is really just preparation for more complicated poses. So we're getting our hand position right. We're warming up our wrists. We're warming up our elbows and our shoulders. So don't scoff at cat-cow. It's important, and we're also going to warm up our spine. So cat-cow, you are going to lead with your pelvis and finish with your head. Never lead with your head. So dropping the sacrum, arching up through the back, strong exhale, dropping the head. Then turning the sacrum up, dropping the belly, inhale, lifting up the head last. Dropping the sacrum, a strong exhale, arching the back, really pushing through the hands here. And again, leading with the sacrum, dropping the belly. And now continue at your own pace, moving slowly. Remember, this is just to warm everything up. Waking up the spine, waking up the central nervous system, letting it know we're about to do some work. Taking our time and easing in. There will be plenty of time for working hard later in this practice. So take this easy, gentle movement while you can get it. Good. Now we come into puppy pose. The hips remain above the knee as we start to extend the hands out, dropping the heart towards the floor. So again, this is not a resting pose. Even if we're still, we're extremely active. The shins are grounding into the earth. The heart is reaching towards the ground, and the fingertips, while they're extending out, the arm is coming back into the shoulder socket, the arm bone. And again, seems like a simple pose, but this is preparation for more complicated poses. Really engaging the thigh muscles, wrapping the muscles of the thigh around the femur bone, which is your thigh bone, melting the heart towards the ground. Maybe taking a moment, giving gratitude for your breath, for waking up today. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you have your health, which is amazing at this time right now. Can be extremely grateful for that. Placing hands under shoulders and pushing back up to tabletop.
All right, now we go into downward facing dog. And I'm gonna spend a little time here. Now start from the base. The base of this pose is your hands, it's not your feet. So really ground through the hands. Your fingers, your first finger should be parallel to the side of your mat. So pointing straight forward, not like this, not like this, straight up and down. Ground through the webbing between your first finger and your thumb. Rotate the inner elbows forward, going forward towards the top of your mat. Really let the arm bones sink into the shoulder socket. As you lift your hips, keeping the knees bent, start sending the hips back. Now this is the important thing. Straight line of energy from wrist to pelvis. We don't want this, we want this. So come into this pose, sending the heart back towards the thighs, keeping the knees bent here. Now you can start to pedal the feet, stretching the heels down toward the ground. Then you can reach both heels down towards the ground. Good. And just breathe here for a minute. You can kind of take one hip to the right, one hip to the left, and then both heels down. Come down to knees, forehead to the ground, arms on the side of the body, palms facing up. This is embryo pose. This is a different version of child's pose. This is a bit more restorative. If at any point during class this is too much, or there's just too much, try to take a less hard version of the pose, or come into embryo if you need a rest. Hands on the ground, push yourself up, and we'll do sun salutation. Come to the top of your mat, inhale the arms up, exhale forward fold, inhale halfway up, plant the hands, jump back. Now when you jump back, you should land with a bend in your elbows. Super important to protect your shoulder joint. Trust me, from years of doing vinyasa, I tore up my right shoulder not doing this properly. And we get into our habitual ways of doing things that we don't stop to think if we're doing it properly. So trust me on this. Land with a bend in your elbow, or you can step back. You don't have to jump back. You can step back as well. And then lower down to the ground, keeping the shoulder above the elbow. So never coming down like this. Keeping the shoulder above the elbow, pushing through to upward facing dog. So tops of the feet on the ground, elbows slightly bent, legs engaged, rolling over your feet and pushing into downward facing dog on the exhale. Bending the knees, jumping to the top of the mat, lightly floating. Inhale halfway up, exhale forward fold. Inhale arms up, exhale to heart center. Now, I did that a little bit more slowly than normal, just because I did want to point out some of those things. One other thing in upward facing dog, send the sacrum towards your feet. That protects your lower back. And again, if any of this is too hard, take child's pose. Inhale, arms up, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up, jump back, lower down to the ground, push through to upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, jump to the top of the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, heart center. Good. Sun salutation B. Inhale. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, jump back, lower down to the ground. Push to upward facing dog. Push back to downward facing dog. Now step the right foot forward, keeping the back knee off the ground. Come into high lunge. Dropping the sacrum, really stretching the psoas here. Hands down. Lower down to the ground. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step the left foot forward. Inhale the arms up. And actually take a couple breaths here. Really opening up the psoas. And sometimes you lose your balance. That's okay. Come back to the pose. Exhale, hands down. Lower down to the ground. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, jump to the top of the mat. Forward fold. Inhale, the arms up. Exhale to heart center. Good. Okay, let's do that again, this time a little bit more connected to the breath. And really try to connect the breath to the movement. By doing that, we really connect our mind to our physical body. And that's a great thing for keeping yourself centered, focused, calm, connected. All the good things. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot forward, high lunge. Exhale, lower down to the ground. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward, high lunge. Hands to the ground. Lower down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bend the knees. Jump to the top of the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up, back bend. Exhale, heart center. Great, we should be nice and warm and ready to get into our sequences. Come to the top of your mat and just take a big step backward, just wherever you land. That should be a good place for you, and you can always adjust. All right, so let's take it from the ground up. So left toes pointing forward, right toes 45-degree angle in. Heel to heel alignment. And always have teensy little micro bend in your knees. This prevents you from locking your quadriceps and your hamstrings and constricting a main vein in your thigh that basically returns all your blood from your lower extremity to your heart. And we want that to happen. We don't want to constrict that flow. So the tiny bend, and especially when you're holding standing poses for a long time, this is why this is important, because we want that blood to get back to our brain. Okay, so leg, external rotation, meaning my leg wants to do this in this position. I need to be conscious and make sure it's not. So I am engaging my thigh and my glute strongly. I'm kicking through that back heel. Raising my pelvic floor, tipping my sacrum. Inhaling my arms up and then bending my knee. Adjusting my stance as appropriate and making sure my knee isn't going wonky, but staying in line with my toes. Making sure my pelvis isn't living in the future, but it is in the present, or my rib cage is with my pelvis in the present moment. Raising the arms up and dropping the shoulders. You can raise the palms up like this and then drop them down
and that will be good. And again, centering my rib cage over my pelvis as I move the whole of my torso at the same time. When I feel I have good alignment, I look over my left middle finger and really engage that pelvic floor. Really supporting all of our reproductive organs. It's also the seat of our emotions and our creativity. Gently placing the left arm on the thigh or on a block or on the outside of the left foot for side angle pose. If you want a more challenging version of this pose, you can raise both hands. Now really engage both of the feet into the ground if you do that. Scissor the legs together. This creates a lot of power. Bringing the legs together like this while feet are still grounding into the ground and dropping the pelvis. This will create a tremendous amount of strength, really tone your muscles. So really tones the outside and the inside of the thigh and that glute. Reaching out fingertip to heel, relaxing the face muscles, and you're not resting on this arm if you're here. It is just a placeholder. You're not putting weight into it. Good. Pinwheel the arms up, straighten the front leg, and go ahead and turn the toes in the other direction, and we will do warrior on this side. And same thing, make sure you're not tilting your pelvis like this, that the sacrum is dropping down to the earth, grounding through that back foot. Front knee is tracking in the same direction as the toes. Rib cage over the pelvis, the whole torso going forward at one time. Lifting up the arms, lifting up the palms and then face down again to drop the shoulders. And smile. Try to keep the face relaxed. Sometimes I find myself really efforting in poses, and I'm like, this is not the point. It's supposed to be active, it's supposed to be work, but we're supposed to find ease within that work. Grounding through the feet, scissoring the legs, raising the pelvis, strongly grounding through the feet and dropping the pelvis as you raise up through the crown of the head, and your arms are stretching out fingertip to fingertip. Now we have all these opposing forces going on here. Resting the arm or arm placement wherever you had it on the other side, coming into side angle. Now we have all these opposing forces. Fingertips to toe, pelvis to crown of head, feet grounding but legs scissoring. And I just want to point out that it's through these opposing forces that we gain strength and balance, that we create harmony in our body. Breathe, use your Ujjayi breath. Good. Spinning the arms up, straightening the front leg, turning the toes in, and then bringing that leg to the top of the mat. Let's go through vinyasa. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Jump back, landing with the bent arm. Push through to upward facing dog. Push back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, jump up. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, heart center. Great. All right. Now, if you have a strap, a belt, a towel, a t-shirt, grab whatever you can. If you can, we're going to come into extended hand to toe pose. So what that is we're going to be grabbing our big toe and putting it out in front of us. If you can come into this pose, great. For the rest of us, use a prop. Props are your friends. stand against a wall if you feel your balance might be challenged. And things are different every day. You know, one day this may be easy, one day it may be very challenging. What I will say is with balancing poses, you need a tremendous amount of focus. You can't be thinking about anything else. The moment you start thinking or wondering or doing something else with your mind, you're going to come out of the pose. So balancing poses are really great for your concentration, for your memory, for bringing calmness and centeredness into your life. So begin in Tadasana, so mountain pose, standing straight up. And again, working from the bottom up, starting with our foundation. Feet planted into the ground. Tiny micro bend, engage this left thigh. Now go ahead and bring the right knee to your chest. Check your balance. Grab the big toe. Maybe you can do this. I can almost do it. But I feel like I will be more supported if I use a prop. And being more supported allows me to build more strength and more flexibility. I'm telling my body that it's safe to do more. Good. Really grounding through that bottom foot, growing through the top of the head, and kicking through the right heel. Bending the knee, dropping the prop, dropping the foot into a wide stance, raising the arms, reach these right fingertips out, bringing the hips together, scissoring the legs as we ground through the feet, reaching out, tipping over for triangle pose. Breathing into the left side of the body. Again, grounding through the feet while scissoring the legs together. Fingertips opposing one another, so reaching to the ground and reaching to the sky as you look up at your left hand. Using the left fingers to pull yourself up. Turning the toes, facing one direction, stepping to the top of your mat. Inhale the arms up, exhale forward fold. Inhale halfway up. Exhale jump back, lower down. Push through to upward facing dog. Exhale downward facing dog. Bend the knees, jump up. Exhale forward fold. Inhale, arms up. Exhale to heart center. And now we'll do the other side. So get your prop as you need it. Come into Tadasana. Really start grounding through that right foot. Tiny micro bend, engaging that left thigh. Right hand, right hip. Grab those left toes. And then kick out. And one thing, on this side I felt like I could get into it, but my chest was compromised. You don't want to have a collapsed chest. You want to have an open chest, not constricting or restricting your breath. And this is why props are great. Now I'm standing up tall, my spine is straight, I can breathe, and I can work on my flexibility. Kicking through that left heel, grounding through that right foot. Face relax, jaw, tongue, little smile, engaging your ujjayi breath. All of the things. Again, we may be still, but we are working. Bending the knee, releasing the prop. Stepping the left foot out. And we have heel to heel alignment. Back heel is 45 degrees in. Raising the arms, engaging the thigh muscles, dropping the sacrum, all of the same things in every pose. The foundation's always the same in standing poses. Reaching those left fingertips out, tipping down, placing the hand on the leg, a block, or on the outside of the left leg. Extending through the fingertips, extending through that back heel. Breathing. Really feeling a nice stretch in the QL here, which is a very deep low back muscle. It's hard to access. Pulling up through the right hand. Good. And stepping to the top of your mat. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Jump back. Lower down to the ground. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And let's hang out here for a minute. Again, working with our alignment. Grounding through the webbing between the first finger and the thumb. Rotating the inner elbows facing towards the front of the mat. And trying to get that wrist to pelvis alignment, that straight line of energy. And then sending the heels toward the ground. Bending the knees, jumping to the front of the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, up. Exhale, hand to heart center. Face the long side of your mat. And jump your legs wide. Now slightly turn the toes in. Make sure that your backside isn't sticking out, but your sacrum is dropping, having a neutral pelvis. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, bring them to your hips. Inhale, exhale, hinge at your hips. Deeply engaging the quadriceps here. Little bend in your knee. If you have tight hamstrings, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees. And then really engage the quadriceps. Engaging the quadriceps lets your hamstrings know that it's safe to release, to relax, to stretch, to lengthen. It lets them know that they're supported. Release the hands to the ground so they are in line with your feet, and then release the head toward the ground, working towards getting our head in between our hands. Really lengthening from the pelvis to the crown of the head. On each inhale, growing long. On each exhale, just sinking a little bit deeper. Inhale, growing long. Exhale, a little bit deeper. Bringing the hands back to the hips, coming halfway up, staying here for just a moment, then coming all the way up. Now let's face the left toes to the front of the mat, and we're going to shorten our stance quite a bit. And I either shorten your stance, or you may also, if depending on the openness of your hips, need to bring your foot out slightly to the right, your back foot out to the right. So you want your hips facing in the same direction. So these little bones here, And see how my back was really arched? I want my sacrum dropping, my crown of my head rising, my knee, my chin tucked to my chest, my hands on my hips, or if I want to work on my shoulder openness, because we're going to take shoulder stand later, holding on to either my elbows, fingers interlaced, if that's too much, trying to get the forearms together, or prayer hands in the back. I'm going to go ahead and hold the elbows, because that seems right for me right now. Nice deep inhale, open through the front of the chest, and forward fold over the front leg. Coming to your edge, lengthening through the crown of the head. Exhale, teensiest bend in the back, and relax deeper into the pose. Again, this scissor action of the legs will give you strength here. Bringing the left hip backwards and the right hip forward. Grounding through the feet. Inhale, coming up. Releasing the arms. Stepping to the front of the mat. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Jump back, lower down to the ground. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Bend the knees, jump to the top of the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up. Exhale to heart center. Good. All right. Now we step into our wide leg stance with slow toes slightly turned in. Hands on hips as we lower down to the ground. Release the hands to the ground in line with the feet. And again, on the inhale, lengthening through the crown of the head. Exhale, relaxing into the pose. Going towards a place of getting the head on the floor between the hands. Engaging the quadriceps so the hamstrings can release. Hands to hips, come halfway up. Come all the way up. Now turn the right toes out. And again, adjust your stance. So both hips are pointed forward. Sacrum dropping. And clasping, same hand position you took on the other side. Breathing into the front of the body. Inhale and forward fold. Come to your edge, be sure to ground through the feet. Scissor the legs together. Engage the thigh muscles. Greatly engage the the quadriceps. And once you get to your edge, teensiest bend in the back, relaxing more into the pose. And notice I say relaxing, not forcing, not pushing. You extend and lengthen on the inhale, relax and soften on the exhale. Grounding through the feet, bringing yourself back up. Releasing the arms, making your way to the top of the mat. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, lower down to the ground. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, jump to the top of the mat. Forward fold. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, heart center. Come into a seated position on your mat and feet on the floor, soles of the feet on the floor, hands at your side. You can bring the feet up here or have them straight. And we'll be going rocking boat pose. If you can, this is a bit challenging for me to go all the way straight and up. So I come a little bit lower, and you can hold the back of your thighs as well. Having hands, palms face up is more of a challenge. Go where you're at today. Legs extended out in front of you. Lay back down. Soles of the feet together. Heels in towards the groin, and let the knees open. Hands in a little triangle with the fingertips pointing down on your pelvis. Breathing to move your hands up and down. Pushing the thighs together. Fingers interlocked behind your head. And yogic bikes. So feet up and elbow to opposite knee. Go. Hug the knees into the chest. Rock back from side to side. Extend the legs out in front of you. Hands can either be palms down or palms up. Bring the heels about 3 inches off of the ground, and for a 6 count, start to raise them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And one thing, we want the belly button really drawing towards the spine and the lower back. See how my back is arched? I can fit my hand under here. We don't want that. We want every bit of the lower back touching the ground. It's very hard to do, but by doing this, we really work the lower abdominal muscles, which generally are the ones least worked. So belly button into the spine, lower for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And go ahead and go without me counting. Breathing, using your ujjayi breath. Tapping into your source of power. Good. Drop the feet to the ground. Soles of the feet together, heels in toward the groin. Hands resting on your pelvis in a little triangle shape, fingers pointing down. Breathing into your hands. Okay, bring the knees together and bring the knees into the chest. Roll yourself up. From tabletop, we're going to go into crow pose. If crow pose is too much, you can take malasana, which is a squat. You can do toes out, pressing elbows into knees, or toes forward, same thing, heels on the ground. This is a bit more challenging, but you're gonna get more openness in the hips. All right, so everybody decide what you're gonna do. And if you're coming into crow, so firmly place your hands on the ground. And again, with balancing poses, if you start to think about something else, you're going to lose the pose. Try to be as present as possible. Try to focus, have one focal point that you're looking at on the ground, and just be in the present moment. Okay, so ground through the hands. We're on tabletop. Ground through the hands. Come onto your toes. And you're bringing your knees really high up toward your shoulders. Almost like into your armpits. Once you get that, you're going to tip forward, looking down at the ground in front of you, and press your hands into the ground and breathe. One focal point, and come down out of the pose into malasana, everybody. Good. All right, now we will do preparation for handstand. So if you can, just pop up into handstand. I welcome you to do that now. When you're done, come into downward facing dog or embryo. To prepare for handstand, there are a couple steps. One, you can sit against the wall. So I come, my feet are against the wall, right where my hips are at. So my hips are actually right at the edge of my mat. So I have my alignment. I put my hands shoulder width apart at my alignment spot, and I begin to walk myself up the wall. And what this does, it feels a bit awkward, but you can push your legs all the way straight. Because you know, since you sat like this, this is where your range of motion is. So I know that I can do this. As you do this, you will gain strength in your arms and in your shoulders, and flexibility in your shoulders. That's also key. So walking the legs up, shifting the weight, building strength. So that's step one. For handstand preparation B, find a space on the wall. I don't generally recommend doing it near a window, but this is my only little space that I don't have a bunch of stuff that might potentially fall on me. So come to the wall and bring your fingertips about 5 inches away from the wall in tabletop position.
come and walk your weight above your hands, and you kick up till you feel your heels against the wall, and then you push into the floor with your hands, looking down at the ground, bringing the belly button into the spine, flexing through the heels, and breathe. Releasing the pose. Voila.
Find your way onto your belly. And I call this Superman pose. I believe it's called boat pose.
So heels together, knees together, glutes flexed, thighs flexed, sacrum working its way toward the feet. This protects your lower back, very important. Now hands at the sides, palms facing up, and raise the chest and the feet. Looking at the ground directly in front of you. Engaging your ujjayi breath. Coming down, left cheek on the ground. Letting the body melt into the floor. Forehead on the ground. Engage the legs, sacrum to the feet, and lift. Engaging your ujjayi breath. Extending through the feet, extending through the head. Bringing the shoulders back, opening the front of the chest. And down, right cheek on the ground. Releasing everything. Bringing the feet up and windshield wipering the legs from side to side. Releasing the lower back. Dropping the feet. Forehead to ground. This time, arms extended out in front of you. Really engage the legs, the thighs, the glutes. Tuck the sacrum. Exhale. Inhale, lift everything up. Lower down, right cheek on ground. Hands at the side of the body, palms facing up. Forehead on the ground. Extend the fingertips out in front of you. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift everything. Right cheek on the ground, hands at the side, palms facing up. Hands underneath the shoulders, push yourself up. Push yourself back into child's pose. Sending the hips to the heels. Forehead on the ground, extending through the fingertips. Breathing into the back body.
Pushing up out of child's pose, coming to a comfortable seated position for a seated twist. So bring your left heel, or I'm sorry, your right heel towards your left buttock. Now, we tend to bring our foot way out front. Let me scoot back so you can see me. We want to have the toes in line with the knee. So not out in front here. Now doing this left hip probably popped up for you. Now you're all off kilter. Bring the right foot in and kind of gently use it as a prop. If you need another pillow, a blanket, a towel, get what you need. Sit up really straight. Bring that knee into the chest. Inhale your arm up. Well, actually, let's do this first. Hook the right elbow around the left knee. And really start to spin the rib cage to the left. Placing the left hand on the floor back of you. Now bring the right arm up. Hook it onto the outside of the left knee and use it as traction to help you open up into the pose, looking over your back shoulder. Raising up through the crown of the head, grounding through the sitting bones. Release the arms, release the legs. Switch the cross of the legs. And again, lining up the knee and the toes. Tucking that left foot in under your right hip. Hugging the knee in towards you. Hooking the arm. Spinning the rib cage a bit more to the right. Planting the right hand down. Growing up through the top of the head. And now hook that left elbow to the right knee and relax into the pose. Release the arms, release the legs. So coming into seated twist with one leg extended. So extend the right leg, cross the left foot over. Begin by raising up the right arm and hugging that left leg in towards you again. This may be enough. If you'd like to progress a little further, raise that arm up, hook it on the outside of the knee, and breathe. Releasing the twist, switching the legs. First, planting that right hand behind you, hugging the knee in with the body, then raising the arm up and twisting to the right. Really engaging the left foot. And release. Just come into an easy cross-legged position and take a few breaths here. Extend the legs out in front of you. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, forward fold, grabbing the feet. If you can, and grab your wrist around your feet. That is one variation, but here's great. If you have extremely tight hamstrings, bend the knee. Start from where you're at and work your way forward. Extending through the top of the head on the inhale, relaxing into the pose on the exhale. Inhale up, bringing the right foot into the left thigh, pressing it into the left thigh. Inhale the arms up, exhale forward fold over the left leg. Come up, switch legs. Inhale the arms up, exhale forward fold. Now, same thing, bring your right foot into the left thigh, but this time it's going to be a lateral bend. So take your forearm of your left arm and just we're going to place it here. Or you can kind of place your elbow here, whatever feels comfortable. And we're going to really spin this right shoulder open, inhale the arm up, and we're reaching towards getting to a point where we can touch our toes, but without collapsing the chest here. So it's important for your chest to remain open so you can breathe properly. Breathing into the right side of the body. Really flexing the left foot, spinning the right shoulder open. Coming up out of the pose. Switching legs. Placing the right arm on the inside of the right leg. Inhaling the arm up. Extending. Inhale the left arm up. Good. Now bring the soles of the feet together, and you want to bring them in, the heels in towards the groin. And just holding here, grounding through the sit bones, rising up through the top of the head. And then inhale up, exhale, fold over your feet. Reaching not necessarily your forehead to your toes, but reaching your heart toward your feet. So you're creating that length in your spine as you're reaching your heart toward the floor. Pushing into the ground, coming back up. Come into a wall, and this is such an amazing pose. So you just bring your hip right up against the wall. You lay down, and then you swing your legs up. If you work on your feet, if you run, if you stand in life, turning things upside down and letting the lymph, the blood, everything that gets down in our lower extremities to just return back to the heart is wonderful. Helps with aching feet, helps with aching legs, prevents varicose veins, prevents fatigue, so many wonderful things, and it's literally so simple. So if you can incorporate this into your day, even 5 minutes is really wonderful. If you're a runner, this is amazing. Bring the arms wide and just allow gravity to do its work. So in the beginning of class, we were doing a bit more challenging poses, standing, balancing, really activating and energizing, creating strength, working our cardio, improving our flexibility. Now in the second half of our practice, I like to slow things down a little bit. We went from a state of excitement to now we're moving into a state of calm. Again, finding strength and harmony through opposing forces. Bring the knees into the chest. Come back down onto the ground. Okay, come onto hands and knees. And then child's pose. Press your hands into the ground. And we'll take another inversion, plow pose. So laying on your back, you press your hands into the ground. Make sure I'm positioned properly. Press your hands into the ground, and then you roll your hips up. You begin to, actually let me come down. My eternal struggle, what to do with my hair. Okay, that's better. Hands into the ground, roll your hips up, and you begin to walk your hands down your back. Now, if you can touch both feet to the ground, great. If not, one at a time. Now, my back is rounded because I have tightness in my shoulders. Eventually, I want to work to the shoulder openness and strength to where my back will be completely straight. But we work with where we're at. Bending the knees and rolling back down to the ground. Extending the legs out in front of you. Hands palm up at your side. Bring the knees into the chest. Arms out to either side. Position like that here. Arms out to either side. And drop the knees to the right. Make sure your left shoulder stays engaged. Knees to center, drop the knees to the left. Knees to center. Extend the legs out in front of you. Now we'll prepare for shoulder stand. So definitely get a blanket, get a towel, get several. Ever so gracefully reach for my blanket here. And we want a fairly thick stack. There we go. Now the neat edge. So you've got one edge that looks very neat and one edge that has all this stuff over here. You want your shoulders on the neat edge. So you bring your shoulders all the way to the edge. Palms down, engage the belly button toward the spine, and roll the hips up. Now, to come into half shoulder stand, you take this little part of your hand and let your hips sit in this part. And just have your ankles above your face. Now, very important, if you go into full shoulder stand, do not turn your head. You can watch me go in and then do it, but once you're in it, do not turn your head. It's very, you can injure your neck. Okay, so to go into full shoulder stand, you begin to walk your hands down your back and your elbows toward one another. And I can't see my alignment because I'm being safe and not turning my head, but my hips should be over my shoulders, my knees over my hips, and my ankles over my knees, one straight line. Belly button into the spine, and relaxed face. Bending the knees, sending the knees to the ears, squeezing the side of the head, palms into the ground, releasing down. Rolling over to your side, removing any props, and preparing for final resting pose. It might be nice to just take your prop and put it under your knees if you tend toward low back tightness, or whatever feels comfortable to you. So lay on your back with your arms slightly out to your side, palm facing up, and begin to just let everything go. No doing, no efforting, no planning, no thinking, no worrying. Just let everything go. Just here in this present moment, drawing your senses inward, listening to your breath, listening to your heartbeat. Now letting that go too. In this final resting pose, we allow our bodies to incorporate all the new information that we just took in. Letting new neural pathways be built, letting our muscle fibers retain the memory. Wiggling fingers and toes. Bringing the knees to the chest, the eyes closed still. Roll onto your right side. With your eyes still closed, press your hands into the ground and push yourself up into an easy seated position. Still taking your focus inward. Hands together in front of the heart.
recalling the intention that you set at the beginning of class and saying it 3 times. Giving gratitude for yourself, for your health, for your breath, for your practice. I thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you showing up and working hard. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you took some benefit from it. I hope that you're feeling loose and limber and energized and calm and relaxed all at the same time. Please visit my Instagram page, Lisa Denise Yoga. There on my profile, you will find information about free live classes, and also there are Instagram TV videos diving into 1 pose a day, really explaining how to physically get into it and then how to work with it energetically in your body. There's also some videos on yoga basics. If you don't know what pranayama is, if you don't know what a dosha is, I'm putting out videos almost daily to get that information to you. All right, thank you again. I hope you have a great day and that I see you soon.